This is a leadership series for sustainable energy that we are doing. We are really happy to have you here. Uh, so for our viewers, John is the head of ESB's Innovation Pipeline Unit at ESB, and his role at ESB involves identifying new ways to collaborate with partners to unlock new revenue streams, with the key objective being the early adoption of emerging technologies and innovative business models to gain first mover and sustainable competitive advantage. So today we will explore ESB's pivotal role in Ireland's energy transition, strategic approach to innovation, and the evolving landscape of the utility sector. So, John, my first question to you is that Ireland targets reaching net zero by 2050, and ESB aims to reach net zero by 2040, which is a difference of 10 years. So, what are the innovative measures that you are taking to achieve this target?
Yeah, well, look, thank you for the opportunity to talk today about what we're trying to do in Ireland and what we are doing. Yeah, we're a semi-state, so we're 97% state-owned and independently operated. So we work very hand in glove with the Irish government, and you know, we given our shareholder, we are absolutely driven to do right by the Irish citizens and the Irish nation, and to make Ireland an attractive place to live and to do business. So, and we strongly believe that getting to net zero is an absolute must in that regard. And actually, we're an island off the west coast of Europe, so we don't have a lot of indigenous fossil fuel energy. So energy security is a challenge for us as well. But the fact that we are a windy rock in the Atlantic is suddenly a good thing, because wind energy is affordable, and we are averaging about 40% renewables at the moment, and our target is to get to 63% of ESB's generation output by 2030 as renewables, and 100% by 2040. Why? Because why are we going ahead of the national targets? Really, because we are an infrastructure enabler. So we own the networks and operate the distribution networks in Ireland and also in Northern Ireland. So for us, hard to expect our customers to decarbonize unless we set out and build out the infrastructure ahead of that. So the key challenges in Ireland are, in particular, heat and transport, and also agriculture. And we have to hit the EU targets. And Ireland is actually an outlier in terms of, if you compare us with other European countries, because a third of our greenhouse gas emissions come from our very large and productive and well-cherished agricultural sector. So we produce an awful lot of beef and an awful lot of milk and an awful lot of other products from the agri sector. And we look more like New Zealand than any other nation in Europe, and they're already low carbon per kind of liter of milk and per kilo of beef, because they are grass fed, they're out in the fields, they're not intensively farmed. So it's a real challenge to decarbonize the farming sector, and we have government agencies like Teagasc working on science to introduce things like seaweed into the food chain to reduce these emissions, stuff like that. But it puts extra pressure on heat and transport. So for us, we're trying to drive ahead on electrification of heat and transport in particular. And for ESB, then we have to build out that network to facilitate more customers to switch across to electric heating, electric transport, and then on the other side to accommodate more and growing distributed sources of energy, such as solar, onto our grid. So for us, it's very unusual, and like most power utilities around the world, we are very risk averse, but we're now being asked to innovate really fast. So that's a challenge for a risk averse type organization to innovate faster, because innovating faster means changing your risk profile a little bit and being a little bit more courageous and a little bit more emboldened to try new things. In the past, we would just wait till large OEMs like Tata or Siemens or ABB or GE, and we just wait till they had a product and we'll buy it. That's not going to work. So we're reaching into the fastest area of innovation on the planet, which is the tech startup world. And we're not in a race against other electricity producers or anything like that. We're actually there's an existential threat to our way of life in the form of climate change. So we're in a race against Mother Nature, and Mother Nature's actually got a head start on us. I think we all know that. So we really have to double up and try and move a lot faster. And so for us, we're reaching out around the world with partners all over the globe, India, Australia, Japan, US, South America, to find the best technologies and try and adopt them as quick as we can, and also to share that knowledge with other power utilities around the world, because once we find a good one, we want to scale it. And there's no point in us decarbonizing by ourselves, because we breathe the same air as you do in India and everybody else around the world. So it's get those best technologies out there, scale them, make them more affordable. So that's kind of our ambition. I hope that helps give you a little bit of context. We're trying to get to our generation fleet down to a carbon intensity of 140 grams CO2 per unit by 2030, and then to net zero by 2040. So it's quite aggressive. And I would say it's unusual for a risk-averse company, and our current CEO, when he took the job a couple of years ago, he said, we got to do this. We can't see all of these solutions available. So normally a power utility will only promise to do something based on existing technologies. We can't see affordable technologies today that we will deploying in 2040, but we know they're coming. So while the challenge is greater than ever, on the other side of that curve is the rate of change of technology evolution is faster than it has ever been. It's growing exponentially. And the challenge for us really is the needle in the haystack, find the really good ones out of that maze of new technologies that are coming at us like a tsunami. So that's the ball in play. That's our ambition, and that's the challenge, and a little hint of maybe what we're going to talk about in a moment in terms of finding those better technologies.
That's very interesting. So, John, what are some of the most promising areas of innovation that you have seen in the recent years?
Yeah, well, they're right across the board. To be honest, that we are seeing changes right across. Like, we're a vertically integrated utility, so we generate electricity. We have on a networks business, we deliver the electricity, and we have a customer-facing business that invests on the customer sites and develops new exciting products for customers. So right across the value chain, and we're seeing technologies coming through fast and furious right across that spectrum. So I give you a little flavor of some of the ones we're seeing. And as an island nation, as we get more and more intermittent renewable, storage is going to be the big challenge. It's still the great unsolved technology. We have short duration storage at the moment in the form of lithium-ion batteries, grid scale and distributed versions of that. And we have a pump storage plant, but that's really day-night trading only, so a couple of hours. But what we really need is like 100-hour storage, and ultimately interseasonal storage when we get to 100% renewables. So for us, one of the key areas we're hunting down is hydrogen storage, and one of the most interesting ones we've come across is a startup in the US, in Columbus, Ohio, called Power to Hydrogen, and they've developed a reversible fuel cell. So with the same equipment, you can make hydrogen, and then when you need electricity, you can run it backwards with the same equipment, so you don't have to double up on capex. And they are early TRL relative to stuff we normally do, but we did a pilot with them with some of our free electrons utility partners from around the world. So we clubbed together and we co-funded a 10 kilowatt 1 year pilot that's gone now to 1/4 megawatt scale, and the guys in Power to Hydrogen have won a concession to put their first 1/4 megawatt, 1/2 megawatt units into Europe actually. So that's exciting before the year end. And it's a small enough company. There's a small number of people working in it, but they're really sharp. And they've only one customer so far, which is NASA. So they're, it's not rocket science, but maybe it's not far off it. But if they can crack this reversible fuel cell, it's one that would be very interesting for us, being an island off the west coast of Europe with lots of wind energy and a need for long duration storage. There's some other exciting ones, like a company called Reblade we came across last year from Denmark. They have a drone that lands on your wind turbine blade, repairs it, and flies away again. And why is that interesting? Well, they can do a 4-day job in 4 hours. So, we can do more frequent repairs of the leading edge of the wind turbine blade. So the blade will be more aerodynamic and more efficient. And the downtime is reduced. So we will get more wind energy out of our existing fleet, which is exciting. And when we go offshore, instead of having, people working at height on, they're very specialist, very hard to get. Hopefully we'll be able to get drones to land and repair those blades more frequently. And when you go offshore, the weather window is tiny, because the wind blows twice as much offshore, and getting effectively flying robots to do it is definitely a way forward. So we've done some factory acceptance tests already, and we're moving forward to site testing with that literally bleeding edge technology, no pun intended. We've got some technologies in network resilience. So a big challenge for ESB is the increasing frequency and the increasing severity of storms, which is attributed to the arrival of climate change. The train has already left the station. So on the 24th of January this year, with Storm Owen hit Ireland. The storm system was bigger than the country, so it hit every part of the country. It was the first time, and I'm not a spring chicken, that I experienced a status red alert. So the entire country went into lockdown. People were told to stay in place, stay at home. Schools were shut, businesses were shut, work from home, and the storm hit, and it did incredible amounts of damage right across the country. So normally we would get storms that would hit in one part of the west coast, and then all our repair crews would come from the rest of the country to that location to fix it. But when you've got widespread damage, there's no reinforcements. Everybody's fixing their own patch. So we had customers out for a couple of weeks, and that's unprecedented. We had record wind speeds. We had recorded a buoy off the west coast, a floating buoy in the ocean, recorded the largest ever wave height. So what was unprecedented is now precedented. So now we have to prepare for these incredibly large storms. So we're looking at that in a number of ways. We're working with a company called NERA from Australia, and they're ingesting our LiDAR data and other sorts of data, and to predict where trees might fall and damage our lines before the storm. And we ran it through the storm cycle, actually, and it predicted very accurately where the damage would occur, and it was a test, and it worked really well. So that's a technology that will help us to get out ahead of the storm and cut back any trees that are in, and also if there are poles that are detected to be leaning slightly and maybe at risk of falling, we can see those as well. So again, digital technology giving us a head start before storms actually hit. We've used some AI actually to look at faulty insulator chains on our networks. So a company called Summers from the US, a startup as well. And the key thing they bring is synthetic training data, because AI is only as good as the training data you give it. So we would take a couple of images and they would generate 500,000 images. And what the AI then does is it pixel compares the drone taken footage of a damaged insulator and compares it to what a good insulator would look like, and say, this one here is damaged. So rather than have humans or our own operating staff looking at hundreds and hundreds of photographs, we can run it through the AI and it'll shortlist. I think some of these we think are vulnerable. The expert will take a look. And a company this year from Germany, Circadian Technologies, we're kind of excited about the prospects of what these guys can do. They have a bit of technology that allows us to talk to we have a telecoms business as well around the country. And during the last storm, the telecoms infrastructure and the power infrastructure got hit. So that's a double disaster, because people can't use the cellular network to report problems. It could be serious emergencies. They're really isolated. So with this solution, we'll be able to effectively oversize the batteries at all of these repeater stations. And that's great, because during the year we can use it to balance the grid and provide system support services for smoother running of the grid. And then ahead of a storm, we can see it coming. We fully charge those oversized batteries, and the telecoms infrastructure at those sites will have longer duration electricity storage to last them until the power is restored. Really excited about that. And a common theme in Europe, UK, and Ireland as well is loads of customers wanting to connect new electrical loads, but they can't get the capacity, and especially in city areas. So a new technology this year called Third Equation from the UK we're excited about. They have a Next Exchanger. It's a piece of kit hardware and firmware that bolts on, effectively wires into your existing substation and converts, let's call it a dumb transformer, into a smart, intelligent transformer. Why does that matter? Because if you better balance the phases, you can effectively get up to 20% extra capacity out of that. So it doesn't become a bottleneck, and you use the full capacity of an existing asset. So that's a retrofittable solution that we plan to test in the coming year. Very excited about that. And another kind of very simple to explain one is Acid Cool, also from the UK. It's a photonics coating that goes on the overhead lines and reflects light. And one of the limiting factors on overhead lines is when they heat up, they sag and your clearances go, and that limits your current carrying capacity of the overhead line. So with this coating, it actually minimizes that effect, the heating effect, so you can actually drive more electricity through the same conductor. So we had planned a trial of some new overhead line conductors. So we're on one span where we have 3 conductors. We're going to coat one with Acid Cool and then compare it, again, a new technology which is retrofittable, which is fantastic, because a lot of our assets are already out there exposed to the elements. I think
so. This is very, very interesting. I think you're very excited about a lot of startups and the new technologies and innovations they are bringing in for the industry. So my next question to you is: there is a significant shift in towards the prosumer model, what is being now followed in Ireland. So how is ESP adapting to that, particularly in terms of resilience and reliability of the supplies?
Yeah, it's a challenge, because the networks were designed, there's lots of neighborhoods that are already built and they're perfectly designed with a little bit of headroom, but everybody is switching to EVs and heat pumps in Ireland, and they're doubling and tripling the load of every home. So in these urban areas, and businesses are doing likewise. Some are putting in solar panels. More will be doing that in future. It's plain to see, if you go far enough into the future, every roof will have a solar panel that's facing remotely towards the sun. If it's north facing and there's a tree over it, obviously it won't, but 90% of the rooftops will have that, and they will be effectively prosumers, because they may not consume all of the electricity they produce and they want to spill it onto the grid. So managing that backflow is indeed a challenge. So actually, one of the other companies that we're working with is a company called PlexiGrid. These are all startups, by the way, technology startups that are growing fast and will either be acquired or they'll grow and become large companies themselves. But PlexiGrid from Spain, so we're working with them on a digital twin project. So why is that important? Because we can look at our networks, model it completely in a digital format, and then run scenario analysis, because we can see trends of adoption of prosumers becoming more active in certain neighborhoods ahead of other neighborhoods, maybe based on ability to invest or government subsidies for others, or government build-outs. So we can say, okay, what happens if these go first? And we can see bottlenecks on our networks and get ahead of that curve. So rather than wait till people start having problems, because there's a lead time on planning, on supply chain is challenging at the moment as well, just getting the stuff in, and the backdrop of uncertainty of tariffs, etc., also muddies the waters even further. So getting advanced notice of to be able to plan better. So the digital twin, it helps us to better forecast where to reinforce first, because we can't reinforce the whole network or it'll be unaffordable. So prioritizing. And another interesting one, a pilot project we did already with a US company called Flex Charging, is to reach into the telematics of the EVs, the electric vehicles themselves. So not talking to the various kaleidoscope of charge points at people's homes, talk directly to each vehicle, because the vehicle knows where it is, it knows its state of charge, and you can see the driving habits. So, and the idea is, could we influence the charging patterns? Because what most people do is when they come home at peak time to have put on their dinner tea, and then they plug in their EV and it starts charging at the wrong time from a network's perspective, wrong time from generation perspective. It's already a peak, so you're adding to the peak and exacerbating the problem. So the idea is, could we reach into the telematics of the car? Yeah, you plug it in, and we guarantee that it'll be charged sufficiently for your needs by the following morning. But we can control each car's charging independently, and that pilot was really exciting, has gone really well. So we think this is a really exciting prospect for managing the demand on the grid in certain congested areas at peak times. We've other kind of cool things that we're experimenting with. There's a company called Prime 19 in Ireland, and they came from the central banking world and mortgages, and they pivoted into the energy sector, which is very unusual. But they're data specialists, and what they can do is ingest the government's, the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland's agency. They do the billing ratings, so every home has a building rating, A, B, or C, depending on how efficient your building is, how your home is, and they can. But behind that rating is a whole load of data that is very valuable. So Prime 19 can reach into that data very quickly, and when you go onto the platform, you say, well, I want to do a small upgrade, a medium upgrade, or a full retrofit, and they can do a ready reckoner and say quickly, well, we know actually the fabric of your house from the data, from the bear rating, and we can tell you this is the best 3 things to do, because it's a 3-year payback. So it's a ready reckoner, and it encourages people to invest in the energy efficiency of their homes, which is a permanent reduction in energy consumption, and again a big net zero play. Another interesting one, maybe just say this one more from Canada, a company called QEA Tech, Quality Energy Audit Technology. They do large commercial buildings, and what do they do with them? They have a drone that flies around your building and takes infrared footage and produces a thermographic image in 3D of your commercial building, and it can tell you where all your energy is getting lost. It's a non-intrusive solution, which we really like. We've tried it on our own buildings. It's very exciting because it can say, you don't have to replace the whole roof, just fix that one piece. But maybe these other things, your windows, you can show and very precisely show you what measures you can take using an AI backend, and tell you what are the measures that pay back the most to reduce your energy consumption on your building, how much it costs, and how quickly you can recover your investment. So that's a really exciting technology from Canada for industrial and commercial customers. So those are a couple of technologies that we've seen and that we're testing ourselves to help our customers, and help also how we serve our customers with reliable, affordable, clean energy.
So, what excites you most about the future of energy in Ireland and globally?
Yeah, I think it's the for me. I flick you back to COVID, although most of us don't want to think about that. I lost two uncles during COVID, but weirdly, living in Dublin, I lived downtown in Dublin. I noticed and most people noticed the recovery of biodiversity, flora and fauna. Started to see urban foxes and things that we hadn't seen for years, more birds, cleaner skies, and we're just going, wow. Why? Because nobody was driving their cars and the traffic was gone. People were working from home. And you just think, wow, this is the way it used to be before we started burning fossil fuels at scale in our cities, and the air was just so much nicer. So I think what excites me is if we get net zero right, it's a triple win, for us in Ireland. If we're generating wind energy, we've got our own energy security really for once, and possibly an exportable solution as well if we build enough wind. And it's clean, clean and reliable, and so that our customers win, the environment wins, and obviously we're happy because we're satisfying their needs. So, but that kind of to make it a better environment for our grandchildren, and maybe if you look future and you're talking to your grandchildren or their children, and you're telling them we used to have pipes at the back of our vehicles and also chimneys in our homes that emissions came out of it, and they'd be going, what, is that true? So I think that piece it's a worthy goal. It's a quality of life issue. And also maybe on the technology side on that journey to achieving that, in terms of how do we get intermittent renewables on one side to try and track, customer consumption patterns. The technology is emerging. It's on the horizon. It's not there now. But if you combine the AI learning power and algorithms onto, let's say, almost unlimited computing power of quantum, and we are seeing some quantum computing solutions emerging even out of the Irish universities here. They are you put those two things together, you can have individually tailored energy offers, not just to businesses but down to individual customers, individual homes, because we can see your use patterns, and we can say, well, actually, solar on your roof, this kind of solution, maybe we preheat your hot water because you've a lot of kids using a lot of hot water. We can make that much cheaper for you, and design individual tailored products, which the telecom sectors are kind of almost there doing. But we see companies like, there's a company called Equal One, a quantum computing company coming out of Dublin University, spin out. It's leaning into this area and putting them in edge computing facilities, like a company called Zanata. Distributed edge computing can facilitate this firepower required to do it. You put that all together, and you can tailor make low cost, really affordable, and clean solutions for each household, tailored to their individual needs. I think that's very exciting, and we all benefit. Society benefits. So I think that's exciting.
So, John, this brings me to the last question that I would like to ask you. So, as ESB continues to drive Ireland's energy transition through relentless innovation and strategic partnerships, what role do you think platforms like our Economic Times Energy Leadership Summit play in fostering the cross-sectoral collaboration and sharing of cutting-edge ideas that are essential to accelerate the journey towards a truly sustainable and net zero energy future?
Yeah, I think I feel very strongly, in fact, because we run a program called Free Electrons. I used to work in venture capital for ESB, and we'd see a couple of hundred companies a year, and we try and vet them ourselves. And there are no experts for new technologies, really. They just frame their expertise based on previous stuff. So it's quite difficult to find even experts to test these. But actually, we formed a club of like-minded utilities in the Free Electrons program, and we also We collaborate with T-Hub in Hyderabad. We collaborate with Innovate UK, the UK government's innovation body. We also collaborate with the German government, DANA, the German Energy Agency. And we are all working together to find in each segment of the value chain what's the best available solution, and to unearth that and to bring it to market. That's why I was calling out some of those company names. We don't want to keep them all the good stuff for ourselves. We want everybody to know that. And I think the role that you could play, Mitravina, is at the Economic Times, is to showcase the winners. They're not well, they are going to be winners, but let's say the most ambitious, and say, look, these guys are going out on a limb. They're trying something new, and it looks like it's working. And if we club together, we can help them get over the line. Like Power to Hydrogen, in the past, we as a power utility would not be interested in a company that's sort of tier 6, tier 7. We'll wait till they come to market. But we're in this super race, and so we say we club together with our friends in E.ON and EDP and American Electric Power and Sheriff and Japan. So we go together and say, we club together, we'll hit this company. They won one of our prizes, $200,000. And we also then did more, and we're kind of helping them understand our pain points so they can design their solution to solve our problem. And we help them and they help us. And if that's one of many, but if that one gets to market, for example, it looks good at the moment, and if it keeps going in the right trajectory, that will be a solution that everybody can have. A reversible fuel cell, it solves that long duration energy storage, can solve maybe clean energy for transport, but nobody knows about it maybe. So I think the Economic Times, it's kind of like not just a good thing, but almost like a responsibility to say, okay, these are some companies, and we put all our top 15 on the Free Electrons website every year, just so that everyone can see it. We've like last year we had 1,045 companies from 91 countries, and we filtered them down to a top 15. It's easier to get into Harvard than it is to get to that top 15 statistically, right? So these guys have really gone through an awful lot of testing and examination by all of the utilities in our group, and then there's some of the companies I mentioned to you. So these are pretty good companies that can solve problems for all power utilities around the world. And we don't want to keep them to ourselves. It's not like we want them to get some sneaky competitive advantage. We want to actually showcase this technology is great. Everybody should use this or some version of it. It's a new genre of technology. Last year you couldn't buy it off the shelf. Now it's coming. Work it into your plans. And power utilities, we are risk averse, so we're slow. We want to test it before we roll it out for obvious reasons. We don't want a catastrophic failure on our network. Lights go out, we're in trouble. So we want to do a controlled understanding of that. So the earlier we see it, the more time we have to test it, and then we can, by the time it's ready to scale, we understand it and we've built it into our plans. But to answer your question more precisely, I think it's to showcase the art of the possible, and in two ways. One, these are the ones that are actually getting this year, and they're winning pilot contracts. They haven't done a rollout yet, but this is you can see patterns of digital twins. You can see like we've got a robotics project in one of our power plants. We never had a robot kind of going around checking on our power plant before. We're trying that now. So, and if you can showcase that, it has a number of effects. It has a snowball effect in terms of other power utilities, because power utilities hate to be first. So if there's somebody else trying something, they call us up. We're happy to tell them about it. And equally, if they say, no, we're doing something better, okay, can we talk to you? And everybody wins. And also there's a hidden benefit to this as well. We, like old people like me, are going to we're not as useful as the new high-tech people, but they might go into another industry. They might go into blockchain, something or other. But if they can see the value and that there is technology needed, and a high tech and AI and digital twins, all of this coming into this sector, maybe they can bring their knowledge. And the benefit of that is we get to net zero, we get to breathe cleaner air, and everybody benefits. So there's that, I think, ambassador role you need to have for saying, you have such a large audience, and it reaches, like electricity kind of reaches every part of society. Like everybody in Ireland today, bar somebody camping on the top of a mountain, maybe on holidays, has interface with ESB's electricity electrons in some way or other. So if we do something good, they benefit. And I think it's pretty much the same globally. So, and you have such a wide audience. There are technologies migrating into our sector. Like from the oil and gas sector, we had a company called Axelos from Switzerland. They helped us do a digital twin of our pump storage, and we could see where forecasts where damage would occur, and we took preventive maintenance. So that's a pivot from one sector to the other. So by you showcasing maybe where the trajectory of the electricity industry is going, it used to move quite slowly. It's moving faster than it ever did because it has to, and it is being more actively adoptive of new technologies than it would have in the past. And we're working with startups, which we wouldn't have done very well in the past. So if you can communicate that, more people from the peripheral sectors, the adjacent sectors will see the opportunity and pivot their tech in to helping India, Ireland, the rest of the world getting to net zero. That's our hope and ambition. So I think you have an amazing opportunity to communicate that, because nobody listens to utility people because we're all talking about electrons, but if you guys put it in context, I think that will be a massive win for getting to net zero and the planet and all of your readers and watchers, viewers.
So thank you so much. We're deeply grateful to you for your time and invaluable insights that you have shared. And thank you so much.